Hi there, back to talk about tone 7 Kievan chant. This tone is set in a major key, and so it's kind of a bright sounding, nicely melodic tone. In some ways, it's a lot easier to sing than other tones because it only has two different lines that variate until you get to the very end. Most of the other tones have three lines, and so it's a little simpler in that respect. In other ways, though, tone 7 is a little more tricky. It has more of what we call passing notes, so notes that march up or down to get you from where you are to an important note and then on to the next note. So that can make tone 7 a little more tricky. And with other tones like tone 6, if you have text that's underlined, it can be very easy to sing if you know the tone, and doesn't require a lot of practice to get the right notes in the right place. However, tone 7 is not so easy in that regard because of those passing notes. So it's one of those tones you really have to take your time to make sure you've typeset it and underlined it properly the way that you want it to be sung, and then review it yourself and with your other singers so that everyone has the same idea and one person is not going da 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 and the other person is going da da da. That's what I mean by those passing notes. um, so tone 7 is a tone that we don't see as much as other tones as well. You know, when you go to get material from the Maneon for the Saint of the Day, the Stakira to be sung at Lord I've Cried, for example, they're often not in tone 7. So it's one that is a little tricky and a little bit less familiar usually to people. Besides that, there are also a couple of different pretty well-known variations of tone 7 that are just slightly different if you look in different resources like St. Vladimir's Seminary, some of their publications, especially for Holy Week, you'll see a little bit different variation on tone 7 than what we're doing here. But those variations develop over time in different parts of the world. It's a pretty common thing. There's no one right way of doing a tone. It's just that you pick, or you are given a set of tones and you learn how to do it that way. That's kind of how it works. So let's go ahead and take a look at this tone 7. We're going to sing through Lord, I Have Cried first, and then we're going to take a deeper look at the tone through the Dogmaticon. I'm going to do the simple conducting that I've been doing in this series for those of you who are learning to conduct. And remember, it's just a nice up and down pulse with a little sweep up to give your singers the indication it's time to breathe and sing when you get down to the bottom there. Okay, let's go ahead and just sing through this. La, fa, re. And the middle note is where we're starting to sing. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Attend to the voice of my supplication when I cry unto thee. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Let my prayer be set forth as incense before thee, the lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Okay, that's how it sounds. And let's take a look now at the actual music. So notice on that first line, the very first word, Lord, Lord, I have cried. The first word has an open note. That is a half note. An open note with a stem on it is a half note that gets two beats, okay? And then you're going from that half note, that hold note, up higher to the word cried. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Okay, looking at this music, that first word Lord is on an A. Then we're going up to a B on the word have, and the word cried is a C. Okay, those are the names of the notes. So the first line has a half note on an A, and then you go up to the C, and that's where the recitative is. That's where the places where you can add words in. Okay, and then you're going to come down just like a step ladder. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. You're not skipping any notes in this version of tone 7, okay? Which makes it a little bit easier to sing. Um, within the line, you're not skipping notes. When we go to the next line, hearken, you are skipping a note. Now I'm going to give you guys who don't really read music a little tip here. Look at the word me on the first line. You can see that it's on a line, or excuse me, on a space. Okay. And if you look at the word hearken, the beginning, it's also on a space. If you have a note that's on a space and your next note is also on a space, that means you're skipping a note. You're skipping the note with the line in between. Okay. So in this case, we're ending on the note A, if you remember, and we're starting on C for the next line. So in the first line of tone 7, that half note is always going to be on the A. And in the second line of tone 7, the half note is not on the A, it's on the C. It's on the higher note. So look down below. Follow with me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Then again, Lord, I have cried unto thee. There's the half note on the A. Keep going down to attend to the voice of my supplication. Attend. There's the half note on the C. You guys seeing a pattern here? When it's a first line, you have a half note on an A. When it's a second line, you have a half note on a C. Now, the other thing that's pretty interesting about tone 7 is the recitative places, the place built into Kievan chant. All lines have this place built in where you can fit in as many words and syllables as you need to. You're going to be on one note. That first part can be as long as it needs to be. In tone 1, the half note and the recitative are opposite. Okay. So on the first line, half note is the A, recitative is on the C, the higher note. When you get to line 2, the half note is on the C. I'll do it this way, the half note is on the C and the recitative is on the A. So it's almost like a seesaw in tone 7, which is part of what makes it both a little tricky and really pleasant to listen to. It's a really nice tone that has a lot of character to it, and one that we don't get to see as often as we might like to. The last line starts on that higher note, the C, and it just has that same ending every time. Da 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 da. Okay, lines 1 and lines 2 always have at least 2 half note spaces to end their line. Sometimes 3 half notes, but at least 2. And they end on different note. They come down differently on different notes. So look at line 1. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Da, da. You've got your 2 notes there with a couple of syllables in between because it's what the text needs, okay? Hearken unto me. That's part of that flexibility of Kievan chant. It's never going to be exactly the same for every line because the music is serving the text, not the other way around. We don't cram the text into the music. We flex the music to hold the text and present it for prayer the way that it's best understandable and most beautiful. Okay, so let's look at the second line then. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Okay, they're a little bit different notes. You can see in the second line, you're going down a little bit lower than you are in the first line. But at the endings of lines 1 and 2, you always have those half notes, just stepping right down. But near the end, at the very last line, the X line, you have hearken unto me, O Lord. You always have that half, quarter, quarter, whole. Okay. And that's what makes the ending line unique. Okay, let's take a look at the dogmaticon now and examine that a little bit more. Hang on just a sec. Okay, looking at the dogmaticon, you can see that I've put in the A and B markings just above the staff for which line it is that we're doing. And you can see that it just goes back and forth, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, until the last line of X, which I also show by the um, um, split bar line there, the little dotted bar line that tells you that it's the last line coming up here, and you're going to be doing a little different melody. So let's look at the beginning. Let's first of all, before we do that, let's find our half notes that we know are going to be there and the recitative areas. So look at the first line, no tongue can speak of thy wonderful childbearing. You can see on the word tongue, that's our held note, our half note on the middle note of the chord, the A, and then it goes up to the C, and that's our recitative line, and then it comes back down to the A and ends on the A. Okay, for the second line, for the order of nature was overruled by God. You've got a couple of passing notes on for the, you're just stepping up like a ladder. And then order, or, is that half note on the C, the upper part of the chord. And that comes down pretty quickly in those passing notes to the recitative line, which is on the A. Okay. And then that one, the line B, actually ends on the root of the chord, on the F. Okay. That's the one on the bottom space of the staff. Now look at line A on the next, thou hast been revealed. You can see there's quite a few little of those passing notes before we get to the whole note, or excuse me, the half note. But there it is on the word revealed. And then we go up to the C. That's our recitative, mother above nature. We end again on that A. For the B line, for thou, there's just one note before our half note, and there's our half note up to the C. And then we come down, must remain a virgin beyond reason and under, and that's our recitative on the middle note of the chord, the A, and then the two notes that end, the G and the F, the root of the chord. Okay, thy conception, you can see on concept, there's the half note, and it goes up to glorious, O Virgin, ends on the same A that we had our original half note on. And then the B line, same pattern that we've seen before. Right away, after one note, there's our half note on the C. We have take a couple more syllables up there and then bring it down to the A line, the on the word birth giving. There's our recitative, and we're going to go down and end on the root of the chord, on the F on the word Theotokos. Okay, and then look at this A line. Here we are starting with our half note up to the C, which is our recitative, thee to be the mother of God. And then this is a short line, fervently. So we start with our half note. We don't have any notes leading up to it because it's a short line. Fervently we beseech thee. Okay. And then for the last line, make supplication for our souls to be saved. Okay. Same ending that we saw on Lord I Have Cried. Okay, let's take another look now at those passing notes. I want you to look at the first line where it says no tongue can speak. A lot of times our tone 7 starts on the root of the chord and ramps up to that half note. If you remember, Lord, I have cried, let me go back there. Lord, I have cried, Lord starts on the half note, okay? But tone 7 doesn't always start on the half note. It depends on what the text says. You could also, these words can be set differently. We could have used some of those ramping up notes, the passing notes, and had our main word be cried. We could have done like this: Lord, I have cried unto thee. So I guess it just wouldn't work very well, which is probably why I didn't set it. It wasn't set that way. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. It kind of makes the line feel a little truncated. So in this instance, the person who set this tone decided to have that first half note be on the word Lord, which is the most important word really in the sentence. So you can start tone 7 on the half note like we do here. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Or you can use passing notes to come up to that like we do here. No tongue can speak of thy wonderful childbearing. Okay, so that's what makes tone 7 a little tricky, is because someone has to make that decision of where the passing notes are going to go and where we're going to change. And that needs to be marked clearly for tone 7. So let's go ahead, and the same thing is true of the second line. So if you look at the B line, for the order of nature. So for the or, those two, for the order, for the are passing notes. If you look across to the second page near the bottom, fervently we beseech thee, that's also a B line, but there's no passing notes. You just go straight to the half note. Fervently we beseech thee. Okay, so you've got quite a bit of flexibility in tone 7 with the passing notes, and that's why it's a little tricky and does require some forethought and preparation. So let's go ahead and sing through the Dogmaticon now with me conducting, and we'll also do the little intro verse at the top. This is something you can do anytime you want when you're singing a Stakira for tone 7. Whatever precedes the Stakira, whether it's a psalm verse from Lord I've Cried, Glory, Now and Ever, you can always use these little intro verses. And when you sing the intro verse, it really sets you up so you know exactly what the tone is. So if you're a newer choir, people are still learning the tones. If you have at least one person that's able to read music or to really remember and know the tones, and they use the intro verse, it kind of sets everybody else up to be able to start right off into the tone. So we'll do the intro verse here. Okay, we'll start with the chord sta la fa, now and ever and unto ages of ages, amen. No tongue can speak of thy wonderful childbearing, for the order of nature was overruled by God. Thou hast been revealed to be a mother above nature, for thou didst remain a virgin beyond reason and understanding. Thy conception was most glorious, O Virgin. The manner of thy birth giving was ineffable, O Theotokos. Knowing thee to be the Mother of God, fervently we beseech thee, make supplication for our souls to be saved. And it's very common to retard a little bit at the end, hold those notes out a little bit longer. Sometimes also with tone 7, you can double the values at the very end, like this. Make supplication for our souls to be saved. That's more of a preference thing for your choir. Just try and be consistent with that so that it doesn't trip people up. Anyway, I hope that that was helpful for getting a little more familiar with tone 7, and I'll see you again for tone 8. Okay, bye bye.